live on YouTube. 3, 2, 1. This is very intense for everyone. Okay, we should be live on YouTube. If someone could confirm that, that would be awesome. Everyone is here and we are good to go. I can confirm it because I can hear it myself on my own computer.
Hello twice, and there's a little lag.
I've closed it. Welcome to the extraordinary madhouse. I think that's what might be on Zoom. Thanks to everyone for joining us. We're so glad you're here. We're so glad you're here for the course, and welcome to the Extraordinary Life course, which will be run by my lovely wife, Katie, myself, Alan, and my business partner, Simon, who's in the UK. Hello, Simon.
Why are we all here, Alan? What should we do? What should we do? Let's get down to business.
Let's know why people are here. That's what we'd like to know, is why are you here? So we'd love you to put that in the YouTube chat or in the chat in Zoom and tell me, why are you here? Why did you come? What's the purpose?
Why are you here, Alan?
Gareth is here to celebrate 10 years of Rebel Business School, which I love. Amanda said for an extraordinary life, which I absolutely love.
Sometimes to contemplate the future, to create an intentional life.
To build an extraordinary 2023, which is definitely, that's what I'm on the path to do as well. To create a new life. Someone says, because we love you. Well, that's an amazing message. We love you too. Thank you for joining us.
Shanda said the accents are great. Are they talking about mine?
I think they're blatantly talking about yours, not Simon's south of the country accent. So the reason we're running this course is because we want to share with you what we've learned over the years about designing life, designing the life you want and the way you want it. Now, today we have an incredible life. We travel around the world. We've hit financial independence. We've created the life of our dreams, but it wasn't always that way. I struggled at school. My parents went bankrupt for a lot of money, and we struggled for cash through a large part of my childhood. I struggled to build my business for many years. We had to overcome a lot of barriers to get here, but we did, and we learned a huge amount on the way, and that is what we want to give you through this course. Now, the course starts with week 1 is about reality, because change has to start where we are. You can't change from somewhere else. You have to work out exactly where you are and then decide where you want to go. And that's the whole purpose of week 1, is to do that. And the adventure begins today. And we have some very exciting music from our trailer, because the adventure begins right now. And this is Simon and I on the back of a truck in Colombia. Obviously, that was where our adventure took us this year as we were visiting coffee plantations. But the adventure begins right now for all of us. And there will be ups and downs. That's the bit.
Life is a roller coaster, baby.
Life is a roller coaster. And so whilst you go through this, there may be highs of thinking about the future you want, and there may be lows about thinking about what you've got to overcome and how you get there. And this is going to be a roller coaster ride.
And we might offend you along the way. It's possible. We're going to challenge you. We're going to say things that challenge your way of thinking. I'm distracted by this rousing music.
It is very rousing.
Is it going to go on a loop forever?
No, it will stop.
So there's going to be things that we're going to say that are going to encourage you to think differently about life, about your life, about the way you see the world. And when you're challenged, you might go offended. And we're going to say things that are going to offend you. So just stick with it. Notice when that happens, and we can examine it together and figure out what's going on.
And it's quite interesting, because even in the comments...
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I could hear someone saying hello.
We can't hear the rowdy music.
That's okay. Don't worry about the rousing music. Just pretend it's there.
I can't just pretend.
Okay, well, we'll play rousing music next week. I was very
There will
aroused.
be an opportunity for rousing music
Yes.
at some point during the next 5 weeks. Tonight was not the night, but we will
Tonight was
carry
not
on.
the night. And I think it's quite interesting because even right now, people are saying in the chat, are you going to tackle the elephant in the room, the cost of living crisis? Are you going to do this? And like before we've even started, there's the problems arising. And we are going to tackle them. We are going to think through them, but we have to work through this as we go. So the key bit here at the very beginning is if it was easy to create the life you wanted, everyone would do it. Everyone would be living the exact life they want if it was easy to create it. But there's plenty of reasons why we haven't yet.
And we often have to remind ourselves of that when we're trying to create something together, Alan and I, and problems arise inevitably. There are always problems in life.
Such as the music not playing when you want it to.
And people getting upset about the music not playing. And I don't have any rousing music. What's my rousing music? And we'd have to look at each other and say, look, if this was easy, everyone would be doing it. Most people do not take the time to think about what they want in life. So they're not doing it. And this is what's going to happen as we go through this, is that it's going to be challenges and it's not always going to be easy. And that's a good thing because you're doing something worthwhile.
So expect there to be challenges, expect there to be things to come up throughout the course that are going to happen for you, and then we have to overcome it. And I think the expression, I'm sure some of you have heard me say this before, everything you want in life is outside your comfort zone. Otherwise, you'd already have it. Like if you were comfortable getting what you wanted and getting the life you wanted, or the job, or the building the business, or doing the thing, if you were comfortable doing it, you probably already would have done it. So if you become uncomfortable through this course, it's probably a sign you're stepping outside of your comfort zone and you're making changes. If you spend the entire course super comfortable and relaxed, like Mark and Lily look very relaxed together right now. They've got a glass of wine and a drink each.
Cheers.
They're looking very chilled out. If you spend the whole 5 weeks super comfortable, then we probably haven't pushed you far enough, and you probably haven't pushed yourself far enough. So I want you to realize you've got to step outside your comfort zone to create the life you want, because if you didn't have to, you would already have it. And when we say that, everyone goes, oh, yeah, Alan, I'm happy stepping outside of my comfort zone, until they get uncomfortable. And then they're like, this isn't what I signed up for. And I'm like, I told you it will be uncomfortable at points. But they still have this thing of, this is not what I signed up for. And well, it's going to get uncomfortable. And I think, Simon, you have something to add to this one.
Well, I think what you've just reminded me of is I ran this course a couple of years ago. It was a 2-week course. And on the last day of the course, this woman came up to me and she said, I really loved what you said at 10 to 11 last Monday. And I don't know what I said 10 minutes ago, never mind 10 to 11 last Monday. What did I say? She said, you put this slide up and it had the words comfort zone in the middle of it. And then there was a circle on the outside with an arrow attached to it, the thing you want. And she said, I realized for the first time in my life that I've spent the whole time just accepting what was given to me and not being prepared to step out and get a little bit uncomfortable. And I think up until that moment, I just thought of this slide as just another kind of lesson, another kind of message that goes into our courses. But you know what? It really struck me. I think this is one of the most important things that we can share this week. And for me, everybody, if you look at that slide, we're going to start to imagine what's in that smaller circle, because we're going to go and get it together.
And that's the plan.
Yeah, that's the plan. But, you know, as the guys have said, it's not all going to be plain sailing, is it? You know, expect some challenges. So I did some work with a company once, and they gave me the call center team to coach. And there was somebody in the call center team. This guy said, I can't believe it. The phone keeps ringing. And I kind of looked at him a bit confused, like, dude, you work in a call center. Of course, the phone's going to keep ringing. And he said, well, it's just annoying, isn't it? I keep getting all these problems. And it just made me think, that's part of the job. And I think it's the same for us, right? Because we're creating a new path, because, the things that you're going to be working towards are things that you've never done before. Expect problems. And it always used to surprise me when problems crop up. I can't believe there's another problem to deal with. But that's kind of the game. Because if you can see all the steps in the journey, then it isn't your journey. Things are going to happen, which it's going to make it a little bit bumpy. But together, we're going to figure it out.
And I think Simon quite often rings me up and goes, this week has been challenging. And we've had this thing recently is like, did you expect running £1 million business to not be challenging, Simon?
Yes.
Yeah, you thought it would be easy.
Yes, I did, Alan. You didn't tell me this.
What was it, that phrase you said to me once? Life is a series of problems punctuated by the odd crisis.
Yes. And the only person who doesn't have problems are the people in the grave. Problems are a sign of life. So if you're here now and you're going, I've got a problem, that's a good sign you're alive. Everyone has problems. It's how we deal with them and how we make going. So we just wanted to set this up, that this is going to be challenging, because we've got a whole host of stuff planned for you.
We've got 5 weeks together. So this first week is about where you are now. Where are you? Because you can't start to change until you know where you are. And we're going to look at different areas of life and what's important to you to understand where you are now.
Then it moves on to week 2, which is choosing your version of extraordinary.
And then week 3, we're going to come on to things are going to crop up. There's going to be barriers either in the way that you think about things or the way that you've been behaving, the things that you think about yourself, about the world. We need to smash through those. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to get to where you want to go because you'll be holding yourself back.
Week 4 is all about looking after you, because if you don't look after you, you don't have the energy to create the life you want or help the people around you.
And then finally, we're going to bring it all together in week 5 and talk about how do you actually make this stuff happen? You've said that's where you want to go. You've said these are your goals. You said that's what you want to aim for. How do we go from where we are now to where we want to be and keep that momentum, that energy, that motivation and that accountability?
So this course, this idea all started when I was on a plane flying back from America, and I was watching a film called The Big Short. And one of the characters said this phrase, the extraordinary belongs to those that create it. And it really hit me in that moment of course it does. Like, you have to build extraordinary. No one is going to give you your version of extraordinary life. I don't know. Did anyone around here have someone come to their school and say, would you like an extraordinary life? Did anyone have that? Did anyone Chris, did someone turn up at your house and say, would you like an extraordinary life? I'm here to give it to you. No, you have to build it for yourself. And that really struck me, that I have to build it for me and you have to build it for you, because no one else is going to. And that has sent me on a journey for 5+ years of how do you build an extraordinary life, because it's not going to happen for me.
It's important to recognize that you already have some aspects of your life that are already extraordinary. So I'd love you to put in the chat, like, what do you already love about your life? What is working for you? In what ways is your life already extraordinary? Amber says, my family.
I love that one.
So does Roz. Got many families, my daughter, my family, my friends. I make tutus all day, says Karen. That's awesome.
We live in a free country, running my business. I reached 5, someone said, which I love.
I'm grateful to have a car, my son, my wife and son, volunteering, my kids, living on a boat. I speak good German. I have pets. I have an awesome circle of friends, my health, my family. There's so much coming up about people, about family and friends and my partner and my kids. It's important to recognize there's extraordinary people around you as well, and like the gratitude of having those people with you as well. Raspberries, says Ali.
And I think we had someone in the group as we were starting this that said, my life is very unextraordinary. That's why I'm coming on the course. And I think it's important to remember there are parts of your world and your life that you already love. And as we go through this, there are going to be some parts you want to keep and some parts you want to change. When we talk about extraordinary and like what you want to keep, Katie very graciously goes, I'll keep Alan. He's okay. He's all right. And there are parts of your life that you will want to keep as you go.
Simon, what do you say to people that say they don't have an extraordinary life, or nothing in their life is extraordinary?
I say look out the window, because we're on a lump of molten rock hurtling through space whilst rotating at 1,000 miles an hour plus into nothingness, and we have the ability to think, breathe, and create things. I think that's massively extraordinary, regardless of what job title we have or, you know, what money's in the bank. Like there is already miracles happening. And I think the thing about this course for me is extending our preferences. We've already got some extraordinary going on, but if we could create the life that we wanted in 2023 and beyond, what would be extraordinary for that? Let's build on that.
And that is what we're really interested in for you, is the next chapter. I don't care what age you are, what starting point you are, where you are, like, in the nicest possible way, I don't care what happened in your past. I care about the next chapter being what you want it to be. And what we need to do is let go of the stories and the past to be free to create the next chapter that we want. And that's going to be a key message as we go through this, is the next chapter. And it brings us to the question that sort of is at the heart of this: what is extraordinary? And you've got some pictures on the screen of like Katie and I's life and what we think is extraordinary.
Do you know what's extraordinary to me is how white and pale I am next to that Brazilian man at the bottom.
We played football on the beach in Brazil, and we went to the Avengers compound, and this is our extraordinary life. But it might not be extraordinary for you. Some of you are thinking, the last thing I would want to do is go and watch a football match. The last thing I would want to do is go and get sunburnt on the beach in Brazil. And that brings us on to a key piece of the whole thing. And when I was running this course, I was running it in Greece several years ago, and this lady stopped me when I was talking about extraordinary, and she was kind of angry at that point, and she said, I don't want a goal, I just want a new dining room table and dinner with my family each night. And in my mind, I'm going, that is a goal. A new dining room table is a goal. Like, that is something you want to do. And dinner with your family each night, that's extraordinary. Like having a connected dinner with your family around a beautiful kitchen table, that's extraordinary. And Nisa said it, everyone has a unique idea of what an extraordinary life is. And I think the key message, which Katie was the one that actually pulled this out here, is living a life that you actually want to live is the extraordinary thing. How many people do you know sacrifice their happiness for a job they don't like? They sacrifice their future for something else. They do what they should do because it's what their parents want, because it's what society wants. They're doing stuff that isn't on purpose for them. And the true extraordinary thing is living a life on purpose and living a life that you actually choose to live. So that to me is what is extraordinary. And then you come to the question, like, what actually is that for you? Because you have to work out what your version of extraordinary is. So as I look at the screen here, there's Jeff in Newport. Like, what is extraordinary for you? Catherine Ledger, what is extraordinary for you? Chris is here. Like, what does it mean to you? What is your version of extraordinary? Because it's different for every single person. Every single person. And where this really struck me is I was thinking about breakfast. You like, that's for those normal. Of you who know me, you know that's a normal thing. Yeah, I was thinking about breakfast. What is the perfect breakfast? I'd love you to put that in the chat right now. What is your perfect breakfast? I'm going to ask Simon whilst you write that in the chat. Simon, what is someone wrote donut.
Donuts, croissants, coffee, eggs Benedicts, tomato curry, love it.
Breakfast burrito. There's someone on the same page as me.
Mexican pancakes. What's different about Mexican pancakes?
Someone said nothing. They're
You're in Mexico, like you should know.
Chilaquiles, someone wrote. Poached egg and avocado.
Ooh, maple and bacon pancakes, scrambled eggs on toast. There's so many different answers. There's many different answers as there are people. Smoothie and avo toast, homemade muesli, a full Scottish, says Lee, waffles.
Rebecca Bautista says arepas, cochinita pibil. There's a lot of Mexican items here. I love it.
Cocoa pops. Eggs, salmon and sauce. Anyway, Simon,
what is your version?
Wait. Has this become the extraordinary breakfast course or what? Can we start talking about what we're going to do for our lives and not just about breakfast? But since you are Scottish smoked salmon with some hollandaise sauce on the side and some spring onions mixed with some hash browns and a very small glass of champagne to wash it down. Thank you for asking. I haven't thought about that at all.
And it's interesting because between YouTube and Zoom, there's thousands of people here, and you all have a different idea of what the perfect breakfast is. So is there actually a perfect breakfast, or do each of us have an idea of what an extraordinary breakfast would be to us? And that's the key bit here. Every single person is different. We are all different. Nef's here, Tony is here. Every one of you has a different idea of what extraordinary is because you like different things. And that is what makes the world a rich, varied, exciting place. And my version of extraordinary changes sometimes depending on the day I feel. Someone wrote in there, like, my version of extraordinary is exactly what I want on the day. And it's interesting.
Yeah, and we're all coming from different backgrounds, different places, different ages, different experiences, and we're all going to come up with a different version of what extraordinary means to us. But the principles are the same. The way that we're going to teach you to get there is the same, and it doesn't matter what that outcome is that you want. We're going to explain and teach and guide you to get there.
Grazie Bia said her perfect breakfast is one she doesn't cook. Which I'd like, actually, I could steal a lot of your ideas from this chat, and that's part of the richness and the variety of this. And one of the fascinating things of the course is we have people from all over the world here.
Yeah, and I'd love to know where you're logging in from. So don't put it in the chat, scan this QR code, or hopefully one of our helpers is going to put the link to this Google form in the chat and tell us where you are logging in from. I'm going to put it in the chat.
Because it is fascinating. Simon and I have been running courses all over the world. And the first time we ever ran a course in Africa, we were going to Namibia to run this course. And I was worried, we were running a business course, how to start a business. And I was worried, what if it's different? What if the principles are different? And we arrived, I don't know if Simon, you remember this, we arrived in Windhoek, the capital of Namibia, and we're walking through the capital city and we see this wall in front of us that has signs on it for help writing your business plan or how to get a loan to start your business. And it hit me in that instance that every single person around the world, and we've run business courses in Colombia, Namibia, France, the UK, we all face the same problems, and we might all want different things, but we all face different problems. So if you're writing in the chat, please click on the link that Katie has put and put in where you are, because she's going to create a wonderful visualization of where everyone is on the course. And we'd love to know where everyone is so we can actually do it. So don't write it in the chat, click on the link that Katie's put in there, the Google form. Gareth and Naomi, click on the link. We know you're from Wales. We know where you're from.
They're very proud, though. They're probably doing the link and telling us they're from Wales.
This is a high-performing group, guys. They can. I love reading where they're from. But if you put it in the chat, please tell us on the form as well, because you'll never believe the graphs that Katie Donegan has the power to create, which she will share with us all next week. And some of the places on here we've actually been to, and some of them we haven't.
So moving on to the next bit. What we need to do as a group is think about what our version of extraordinary is. So we need to work out what an extraordinary environment would be for us. We need to work out what an extraordinary diet would be, what our health would look like if it was our version of extraordinary, what our career would look like, or our business, or our family, and all of these different elements. But there is a reason why we don't think for ourselves. And this is the key bit. Society has a plan for you. And I don't know if you've experienced this, but your family, your friends, the newspaper, everyone tells you what you should do to get to the life you want. And there's like a standard plan that we follow. And I don't know if any of you have followed this standard plan or know it, but in general it is go to school and get good grades. Once you've gone to school and got good grades, you go to college and get good grades. Once you get good grades there, you go to university and get more good grades. Then you get a good job. You must get a good, solid job. Did your parents ever tell you that? Did the school tell you that? Annie's nodding like, get a good job. Yes. They told me to get a good job. Didn't really work for me. No. Then you get a home. Then my parents told me to get the biggest home possible because that's a sign of success. The bigger the house, the more successful you are. Buy a big home. Once you've got a big home, you then get promoted at work so you can afford it. Then you get a pet, and you get a pet. And if you don't kill the pet, then you can have kids. Then you've done really well. Then you work for 50 years. Then you just keep scaling, hustling, making more money. Eventually you retire and then you die.
Alan, are you here to inspire us tonight, by the way? Is that what this list is for? Because I'm looking at that list going, oh no. Like I jumped off a few times, but I definitely jumped back on a few times as well. Where did you jump off?
Well, I went to college, which in the UK is 16 to 18. And I didn't get the good grades. I barely made it through. My mum had to force me to finish like my 18-year-old education. She wanted me to go to university, but I bailed out. And I tried to get a good job a few times, but kept getting fired. But basically, I got to step 2 and didn't get any further, Simon. I just didn't fit into the mold.
How about you, Katie? When did you jump off?
I'm very good at following rules and plans and things. I was very obedient for a good while. I probably got to 5. So I was always very diligent at school, very academic, very like focused on getting the good grades. I then did get a good job and then I got a home. And then I realized I didn't have to upgrade and get a bigger home. And
despite family pressure, when they came round to our house and said things like, when are you going to get a proper home? It's like, what's improper about our 2-bedroom flat in Basingstoke? We like Basingstoke.
I think one of the big things that diverted me off this plan was this chap came along and was like, you don't have to follow the plan, don't you? And I was like, what on earth are you talking about? What do you mean? He's like, you can live whatever life you want. Sorry, what? I thought I had to follow this plan. And it was all set out for me. And it felt like not easy, but like the structure to be able to follow, do this. And then something that I'm still working on is thinking for myself and saying, what do I actually want? Not what is set out for me. What does society want? What do I think that other people think I should do? What does Alan want me to do? What do I actually want? And it's really important to sit and think about that and push away all these external forces and influences.
I love that. And it seems to me like I'm looking at some of the comments. Leisure says, oh dear, I jumped lots of hoops. Lol. Sue Perrett says, I didn't even get to number 1. Chloe says, this is my favorite. Holy moly. I'm over halfway through that, like the societal robot that I am. I feel your pain, Chloe. I'm now at work 50 years, which does not sound appealing. Yeah, I get that. But I guess it doesn't really matter, does it? It doesn't really matter. And that's one of the things we're going to go into this evening. It doesn't really matter which bits of those things you've checked off. Hopefully we're all a long way away from number 13, of course. But the thing about it is, whichever point you're at, you can make a change. And that's one of the things that Alan and Katie and I are going to be talking about tonight. Whichever hoops you've jumped through, whichever hoops you've decided to discard or set fire to, which is certainly one of your skills, Alan, we're going to figure out what to do next.
Well, I think the key as well is this is the default plan. You can choose to accept that plan. If you like this plan, go for the plan. I don't care. That's your version of extraordinary. That's the life you want to live. Live that life. I'm just saying choose consciously. So maybe like if you're on that plan and you're happy with it, go for it. Just know that you have chosen that path.
Exactly. And I think what we want to say to you is there is zero judgment about what life you want to lead. You can lead any life you want to. I think why we question this and keep prodding the standard life plan is because most people accept it and follow it as the default, and they don't think for themselves. Then they get to like step 10, work 50 years, and they're like, why am I doing this? What is going on? And they have that existential doubt about what they're doing. And then they start to question it. So we want to help you question it before you even go down there. And if you choose to go down there, you're doing it because you want to, not because it's just what society says you had to do. There's lots of people in the chat that did make me laugh, saying about marriage. Roll Thomas said, what happened to getting married?
Yeah,
someone else said, where's divorce on the list?
So Steve said, don't worry, I killed all the plants, then had kids. So good luck to them.
Also, buying soft furnishings should be on that list. I asked you to put
buying
it on.
soft furnishings.
Curtains.
Yeah. My parents-in-law would have loved if we'd done that. My mum would have loved if I'd done that. Anyway, society has this plan for you. Society wants you to spend your money. Consumerism drives the global economy. If you've ever listened to the radio and someone has won a prize, what's the first thing the radio host says to them? What are you going to spend it on? And that's the drive, is to spend and to earn and to keep going on this treadmill to create. And that is the treadmill that we get stuck on. So we want to like stop the treadmill. You've already chosen to stand out by coming on this course. Like the Zoom is chock-a-block with 500 people who have already chosen to stand out by coming on this course. You might as well choose to stand out by creating the life you actually want to live. And I think there's a key message here, which we're going to say, is this is not the easy path. Have any of you experienced this? Standing out or doing things differently is not always the easy path. People will question what you're doing. They will ask you, why are you doing this? What are you doing? What's going on? They will question those different choices that you make. They will judge you for it. Bex is saying this happens every day. And Tahir says Matrix is my favorite movie. There is definitely a Matrix thing here of you get to choose whether you take the easy path and fit in, or you get to choose whether you stand out and it's not the easy path. And
because there's pain either way, isn't there? There's like perceived pain, I guess. So the pain of staying on the path is maybe you're like dissatisfied and you're like, is this all there is? Is this what it is? But then choosing to live differently it's unknown. It's potentially scary. This like fear of what could happen and what are people going to think. So there's problems and challenges on both sides. So why not choose the one that potentially leads to a more joyful life?
So this is the moment to decide. Are you going to take the red pill or the blue pill? If you haven't watched The Matrix, there is a moment in the movie where
I don't remember you in this movie.
Well, anyway, there's a moment in the movie where the hero gets offered, would you like to go back to your normal life and forget everything that we've talked about? Or would you like to come on this journey? And it might be uncomfortable, it might be painful, it might be difficult, but you can come on this journey with us. And that's the question. Katie is going to launch a poll for those of you who are in Zoom. For those of you who are on YouTube, write it in the text. Katie, what does the poll say?
So are you going to take the red pill, which is I choose to take control of my life, live on purpose and live a life that's meaningful to me? Or you're going to take the blue pill where you choose to accept the status quo, the life that other people have chosen and set out for you? Which path are you going to choose? You're going to... Blue pill is consciously choose to accept that standard life plan.
And none of us are going to judge. If you want to go back to the job, the standard life plan, then that's your choice. And I actually think if you choose that and you consciously go, I'm going to fall in love with what I was doing, then that is a great choice. Roll Thomas says, can I have 3 red pills? He's being greedy there.
So the YouTubers that are not able to fill in the poll in Zoom, unanimously red, I believe. I can't spot any blues. Maybe they've already logged off.
And we've got 100% on the red pill in the YouTube. If you clicked blue pill, well, no one clicked blue pill, so we're all good. So you're in, you're here.
We're all here.
So let's get started, Katie. And it all starts with not accepting the status quo. And what we mean by that is life is the way it is. Like, people tell you, this is the way things are, this is the way it is. And I don't know if you've ever questioned, like, why do you do it like that? And people say, because that's the way we do it. Well, that is the status quo, or the default. And to make change, you have to say no to the status quo. You have to say no to the default. That's how I started a business with Simon, was by saying, I am not going to write a business plan. I am not going to take a loan. I am going to choose a different path. And I'm saying no to debt, no to the default. And it's not easy to do that. But if you just accept the status quo, that's what you will get.
So we've got some grand examples from history of people not accepting the status quo and challenging the way things are. So Gandhi, when he did his non-violent protests against British rule in India, he didn't stand for the way things were. He wanted to make change, so he didn't accept the way things were. Rosa Parks, when she would refuse to give up her seat to a white man in racially segregated US, refused to accept the status quo. And anything that needs change, you have to stop accepting the way things are. That's kind of by definition, things are going to change. Stop accepting the way things are. We've got a more kind of real life example.
A more grounded example.
Seem a little bit out of reach for us more humble humans that haven't done things like that.
So far. We haven't done things like that yet.
So far.
Katie.
And maybe there's like a couple of weeks ago, we went to a restaurant, Katie and I, and we asked for a table, we booked in, they took us to our table, and as we were walking through the nice part of the restaurant, they took us to some like dingy back room with it was really loud, it was dark, it was dingy, it was the worst room in the restaurant. And in that moment, Katie and I had a choice. Do we accept the table that we'll be given, or do we say, no, we would like to sit somewhere else? What do you think we did? Like, Simon probably knows already. We said, like, that's not the table for us. Do you have another one? And they took us to a different room. We got a much better table and we sat somewhere else and we had a wonderful meal together. But we did not accept the default that we were given. And I think accepting the default, being reasonable, is the enemy of the extraordinary you want. So I guess the question then becomes, where in your life are you accepting the default? Where in your life are you accepting the status quo? Kenneth said something quite interesting. The normal life has already rejected me anyway, so I have no choice. I feel a bit like that sometimes, like normal life rejected me and I had to make my own path. But some of us just accept that bit. I think that's the question. Where are you accepting the default already? And where can we move on? And we're going to explore that throughout today.
It looks like we got a bunch of rebels, because there's a load of people here saying that they've experienced this, not accepting the status quo, being unreasonable. And I have to say, like, I'm sitting here listening to that thinking, I think for a lot of years in my life, I've preferred the status quo, like not wanting to make a fuss. And consequently, like, you hold all of that negative energy in your body. And as soon as you put it out there, it becomes someone else's problem. The fact that you're being unreasonable is not your problem. You're sharing that. And I think that sense of saying stuff out loud and rejecting reasonable, and screw the status quo, Alan. And I don't mean the band either.
They're not really my type. Moving on quickly, it's not accepting the default. If you choose the default because it's what you want, that is okay. But it's not accepting it when it's just given to you and it's making those things. So that's what we're going to look at. We did want to say as we start, we are just 3 normal humans with problems, just like everyone else. We are 3 normal humans. We have arguments, we have problems. We're actually figuring this out alongside you. So we might have figured out some things in business and finance, but we have not figured out everything. And we are doing the journey alongside you.
When you say normal, Alan, what do you mean by that? I think the thing for me here is just to kind of build on what you said about what normal means, because, you know, over the years, I've got to where I've got to whilst carrying a bunch of mental health challenges that I've figured out how to overcome. So if anyone is at home thinking, you know, I've struggled with anxiety or depression or overwhelm or, you know, PTSD, you know, all of the stuff that people struggle with in day-to-day life, like all 3 of us have had our own struggles. And, you know, we may at times seem like we're a few steps ahead, but we are on this journey with you as well. We want to make 2023 and beyond the best years of our lives too. So we're on the same page as all of you folks.
And we're actually doing all the exercises alongside with you. So that's the plan, is we're going to use this and do it alongside you to develop our version of extraordinary with you.
And Alan and I have been working together mostly to try and create these things. And actually in the last couple of weeks, we've been having quite big arguments because I will agree to doing something and Alan thinks we're happily like rowing off together in the same direction. And then I won't be for whatever reason, and I'll like sabotage it, undermine it, drill holes in the boat, throw down the anchor, or be rowing in the opposite direction. So there's still stuff that we're working on alongside you, and we're going to, yeah, as Alan said, do all the exercise with you and see where that leads us as well, and what's going to happen for us in 2023.
And hopefully through us working out the pain of what causes us to fight and cause problems and row in different directions, we can help you to avoid it and keep going on what you're doing. And I think that's what we meant by normal. I don't like the word normal either, but like, I just wanted you to know we're not perfect. We have equally as problems. So we're running the course. Let's keep going, Katie. We have a bunch of people who are helping us.
Yeah, we have a team that's helping us. This is not the actual team. This is a representative image. Only actual team members may look completely different from this. But we just wanted to thank the people that have helped us pull this together. We've got Anita and Tony and Dom, Annie, Tracy, Martin, Emma. I've forgotten loads of you, sorry, because there's been so many people helping us. Just want to acknowledge you. And I don't know if you've seen the new Enola Holmes movie on Netflix. It is very good. And there was a quote in there that really stood out to me. Her mum says to Enola, "You will do very well on your own, but with others, you could be magnificent." So as we go through this, like, pull that team around you, and who could you work together with to amplify your skills together and do something extraordinarily large.
And that's why we have the Facebook group. That's why we're here together on the Zoom, is we can work together on that. So let's get into the first exercise. The first exercise is we're going to do an exercise to uncover your values. And values is one of these words that gets thrown around a lot, but basically it means what is important to you. And the reason we're going to do it is I think of values as your compass. When you're out there going towards something, you can use the values or the compass to know if you're heading in the right direction, because it will tell you, this is important to me, this is important to me, and this is important to me. And you can know whether that direction is delivering what is most important to you. And it will also keep you strong when doubt comes from other people, when society tells you you're doing the wrong things, when there's an argument with another person. It's your way of knowing, am I doing the right thing? Am I working on what I have said is most important to me. And values are critical to knowing whether you're heading in the right direction. And I think if you ask most people, and I'd love to know from you yourself, like if I said to you, what's most important to you, could you tell me what the top 5 things most important to you are in your life off the top of your head? Could you just like say that? Or is it something you'd have to go away and think about? Jeth and Paul put family immediately. And I think most people could say like, these are the important things, and they start to answer it. But do they actually have a list? Do they really know what is important to them? And there's some top coming in here, which I love. And that's actually the question we're going to go to right now is, what are your values?
So we're going to do a quick and dirty version of this exercise right now to just give you some prompts and see what your values are, what calls out to you from this list of prompts that we have here. So health or happiness, integrity, love. So just jot down in the chat ideas from this that we've put here, or whatever you have your own ideas. And if you're not comfortable sharing it, just jot it down in your notebook. So just off the top of your head, or what's coming up on the screen here, what of these shouts to you is that's what's important to me?
Bex writes happiness every time. Kathleen on YouTube said health, finance, family, friends, and fun. Love that. You got health first, finances second.
Someone said happiness and a tidy beard.
Happiness and a tidy beard.
I love that.
I don't think that'll be on Catherine's list.
Health and contact with the spirit, family, health, adventure, contribution. It's going so fast. Family, friends, health's coming up a lot.
Sam had a huge list. Amazing.
Yes, Sam's thought about this.
You remember when earlier on when Katie said that we might offend you? Like, values is one of those key moments where folk can get offended when you challenge them, because it's really interesting that so many of us have got the words that jump out immediately. But when you put some of those things under pressure and say, what if you had to choose one over the other and put one more important than the other one? That's some of the detail that we're going to get into, because this becomes the guide rails to help you make decisions about what's important to you and about how the things that you do will line up with your values or not. So we are going to be putting these under pressure, especially because I can see it in Alan's eyes. He's in that sort of mood tonight. Isn't he? He's in that pressure on values mood.
The first time I ever did a values exercise, I went on a training course all about money, and he's like, write down your values. So I wrote down my values, and there was family, and there was happiness, and there was love, and all these different things. And then he said to me, we said to everyone on the course, was money or finances on your list? And I looked down at my list and I went, nope, it's not on there. And then he stared at me and said, that's probably why you don't have very much then. And it kind of really hit me like, oh, I basically, by not putting money on my list, I've said it is unimportant to me. And yet my goal is to create wealth and create a life that I want. And I saw this massive incongruence in what I was saying was important and what I was trying to do, and how those things came together. And Anna says money isn't a value, it's a means to the end. Like, we can argue over what is or isn't, but money and finances, if you don't think money and finances are important, then you won't spend your time managing your money, sorting out your finances. And yes, Anna, money does facilitate other things. So it facilitates time to spend with Katie. It facilitates perfect breakfasts for me. It facilitates the environment I want to live in. But it's really interesting. Someone said financial security is a value. Dom said it facilitates time to spend on the course. The only reason we can do this course and give it away for free to you is because we fixed money. Nisa says money equals freedom. And anyway, I'm not like promoting money should be on your list, but I think it's like interesting to realize your values list will show up in the results you get in your life. And it's fascinating when you go through this. And what we're going to look at is what you say is important versus how you act. Because so many people will tell you something is important and then do the exact opposite.
I was chatting to a family member the other day and I was curious like what they'd done with their morning. And she said, oh, like I read a book all morning and I'm really annoyed with myself. And I was like, why? What's wrong with reading a book all morning? It's like, it's a waste of time, an absolute waste of time. It's like, do you think that, or is that what you think you should have done with your time? And she had decided what she should be doing with her time versus what she actually wanted to do, and she really enjoys reading. It brings her joy, and clearly she was into this book because she spent the whole morning reading it. It wasn't a slog. And it's just interesting to notice that difference between what she wanted to do, which was reading the book, and then judging herself afterwards, and that difference and that thing that caused her pain afterwards, because she's like, oh, I shouldn't have done that was a waste of time.
She was retired. She could do anything she wanted with her life, and yet she punished herself for the choices she made. And it's really fascinating when we do this. And this sort of leads us on to that concept of congruence. And it's a fancy word, but it's basically just means, do these things line up? Do your values, your identity and belief line up with your actions? Because so many times people will show you that they are incongruent, including me, including other people.
Even
so
you.
I've got some examples of what incongruence is to bring it to life. Incongruence is where you say family is important to you, but then continuously choose to stay late at work and not spend time with your family. Like, that is incongruent.
Ouch.
Were you looking at Simon when you said that?
No, just generally into the camera.
Felt like he was.
You want to add?
Well, I think, the thing for me is probably for as long as I can remember, I felt the discomfort of not spending more time with my kids. And I'll say the words like, I want to spend more time with my kids. And then it's school pickup time and I'm in London or somewhere else. And actually that tension it feels ever present. So that one really hits home for me.
And there's so many examples of this. Like, there's people who say that saving and getting their finances in order is important, but then they do the exact opposite and they don't know where the money goes, or they spend it all. We had an exact example of this on Rebel Finance School this year. We had a guy that we were trying to help. He said finances were the most important thing to him at the moment. We spoke to him on Friday. He came back on Monday and he'd blown all of his emergency fund on a party. And he'd done the exact opposite to what he said was important, and then was beating himself up about it. And then my worst incongruence is, I say that health is important, but then I choose to eat the burger at the restaurant. I say that health and fitness is important, and then I watch a Netflix video instead of going out. That is incongruence. And then I beat myself up for doing it. And it's really quite challenging and painful. This incongruence rips you apart with what you're doing. And for years, I wanted to build a business, but I told myself I hated cold calling. So then when I didn't do it, I beat myself up and I never built my business, and I ripped myself apart with this stuff. And it's the guilt and the incongruence. Actually, doing the thing is quite easy sometimes. Doing the thing, like picking up a phone to make a phone call, is quite easy. But we make it so hard because we're torn between the options. Going outside and going for a run. Mark Crossley says, I aim for 80% good, 20% burger. I like that.
Good ratio.
That is way more congruent than I am. And we're not saying you don't ever have... I'm probably 50% burger. But anyway, you don't have to always make the good choice. You don't always have to do that, but you just need to know, I am more congruent. I am on that way. Tim says, being honest about this incongruence is painful. This is part of being outside my comfort zone. You're exactly right. We need to identify where we are incongruent, because it's very easy to spot where other people are incongruent.
Yeah, as you go about your week this week, before we come back next week together, you're probably going to notice other people being incongruent, and you're going to be so tempted to be like, you're being incongruent.
You
don't do that. It
Have
might
we got a
make you
disclaimer that
different.
we can send around? Like, if you point out anyone's incongruence, you are personally responsible. It's nothing to do with us.
Yeah, if you get punched in the face, don't send us your medical bills, please.
I picked up on a couple of the comments, and there was one that Jeff said that because I get this sense of, you know, where we're talking about not accepting the status quo, there are some things where you go, I'm just going to accept that that's part of me, and I get some enjoyment from that. So instead of kind of beating yourself up over that stuff, that there is a certain amount of acceptance, but there's also some things to consider. And this is what the values thing is going to do for us, Jeff, and anyone else that's thinking like, how do I actually resolve this? How do I get past this? We've got the tools coming. And I think that's what the grounding of this week is all about, is starting that process of understanding what your values are, putting them under a bit of pressure so you can really start to identify where there's incongruence in your life and what's important to you. But we'll use those as building blocks. And remember, we got 5 weeks together. We're going to get there. Anyone that's concerned about that, we're going to get there.
And Stephen Murray says, so what's the first step to being more congruent? The first step is to identify your values. And once we've done that, we can then look at your actions and see if they line up. And you'll be able to do that yourself. And we've actually got a bit coming up. If you ever find yourself saying, I really want to build a business, and then you can't motivate yourself to get off the couch, that is incongruence. If you ever say to yourself, I want to be healthy, but then you make the wrong food choice every time, that is incongruence. That is what it is. So we need to define your values and work it out. Then you either have a choice of changing your values to align with your actions or changing your actions to align with your values. Either one's fine, but we need to remove that tension from your life so you can make progress. And one of the sentences Katie and I have come up with to help us do this more easily is, when we see something that each of us are doing that doesn't quite line up, we ask the question, what are you optimizing for?
So I love this. You can see this when people go out to eat and they've got all these competing things in their brain, and it takes them 20 minutes to decide what to have off the menu, because they'll look and they think, oh, I really want something tasty. Oh, I like steak. I'll have that steak. And then they look across and go, oh, that's very expensive. I'll go for a cheaper option. Oh, look, oh, the burger looks good. Oh, but it's not that healthy. I should probably go for the salad. Oh, that's not going to fill me up there and give me that much flavor. I should probably go for the steak. And they go around this loop, because are they optimizing for flavor? Are they optimizing for price? Are they optimizing for health? And there's potentially an option that would fit all three, but they're trying to simultaneously fix all these things. And it's like, what do you actually want? What are you optimizing for? And going in knowing that will save that 20-minute torture. And you can actually speak to the people that you've gone out for dinner with, rather than spending most of the time deciding what to eat.
Yeah. Darren says, Katie, welcome to my inner brain.
We were having a discussion, Alan and I, earlier, of me doing the exact same thing. I was trying to optimize for frugality, following the rules, and an easy life. And there were 3 different options, and I went round and round and round in the circles, like, oh, but that one's more expensive. Oh, but that one I'm not quite following the rules properly. Oh, but that one, that's a bit of a pain and I'll do a bit of extra work. And I go round and round, and Alan's like, you're in a loop and you're torturing yourself and me. Could you kindly stop?
Yeah, and I just said, my one rule is what's best for us. That was my one thing. And then that's really simple to optimize for. And that's what we do with values, because values are for decision making. So how do you know when you're incongruent? You know because you can't move yourself off the couch, because you can't follow through on your goals, because you're not living what you said you want to live. That's how you spot it. So if you've got it, that's how you spot it. And then that's what the values, getting clear on them, will help us to fix. Anna says, what are you calling values? Do you mean priorities? It's what is important to you in life? I think the word priorities, to me, sometimes means my priority today is to email the business, sort out this. So it feels like a smaller thing. Whereas the values is the most important thing to you. And that is it. That's the important thing. Because you can use the values to help you make decisions. So if you know very clearly your values are family, happiness, finance, whatever it is, and then you come to a situation where you've got offered a job and you can earn more money, but it means time away from your family, you can look at your values and that will help you to make the decision easier. So it's really useful for deciding those big things as well as the small things about what to have for dinner. And it also, Jeff says, how do you train your brain to stop overthinking? Like, this is part of it. The more clearly you understand yourself, the easier it is to make decisions, and then we can move on with it. One small caveat is your values, what is important to you, will change over time. And there's some chat in the group saying, money isn't the value, independence or freedom is the value. Like, I think we should stop arguing about like what is or isn't a value. It doesn't matter. It's whatever it means to you. So like, choose your own words, choose your own values. It's whatever gets you the results you want. It doesn't make a difference what word you choose. It's the one that means the right thing to you. I have finances on my list.
Andrea says, is congruence at the expense of comfort?
No, actually, congruence leads to comfort. If you're congruent, i.e., let's take a health example. I believe I'm an athlete. I value health and exercise, and then I feel good going out and healthy and being exercising. If it all lines up, it's really comfortable. If it doesn't line up, i.e., like, I'm not an athlete, I'm a couch potato, and I don't believe it's possible to lose weight, but I want to be healthy and fit. That's incongruence, which tears you apart and is discomfort. So actually getting to a stage where we line up helps us to make progress. And I think this should help to bring it a little bit more to life. I created a graph of my values over time. I know Katie loves a graph. Hopefully you do as well. The first time I ever did a values exercise was in July 2008. And I've got health in red and wealth was the term I used back then in blue. Before this, wealth had never shown up on my list. This was when I went on that course and they said it should be on your list. And at that time, it came in at number 5. And then I did it again in November 2012, and it was still at number 5. And I had okay results through those years with finances. By July 14, it went up to number 3. And then eventually, like, for some reason in January 17, I think I'd found out about financial independence, and finances, fixing my finances became the thing I was most focused on, and it became important. And it's interesting because you could directly track our net worth with how important the importance or the time or the energy I placed on looking after it. And actually, health didn't even appear on my list at that point. And I was way overweight at that point. And the first time health actually appeared on my list was a lot later. And then, like, by August 19, wealth had dropped down my list. And yeah, this is how important it is. So the number 1 at the top means it's like the number 1 most important thing to me at that time. And the reason it dropped down the list was I'd actually saved and invested a lot. So by that stage in August 2019, it's like, well, when you have money or when you have wealth or finances, it becomes less important to you. And by that stage, I'd sorted out finances, so I needed to put less focus on it. And then it sort of bumbled around at the bottom of the list. But if you look at health didn't even show up on my list until the 15th of October 2015. It showed up at number 5. Then it became important. And then I forgot about it, and it vanished off my list until January 2020. And then it reappeared. Like, it's quite interesting. If you were to overlay my graph of my body fat over the years, it would pretty much match up with how important I thought health was and whether I focused on it. And I think it's fascinating when you look at this type of thing, your results will directly tie up to how important you think something is. If you don't think your career is important, you won't put the time into working on it. If you don't think health is important, you won't put the time into doing it. If you don't think family is important, you won't put the time into looking after it. Yeah, and Cassandra said it would be interesting to measure your mental health alongside this. That's definitely suffered when I've like focused on different things. But it's fascinating when you start to look at this. What are your thoughts looking at this, Simon?
I'm thinking to myself, who the hell makes a graph out of their values over like a 9-year period? That's what I don't know anyone else looking at that. Like my mental well-being is affected looking at that going, why the hell haven't I got 9 years worth of values mapped out over a graph? And I think, like, Alan, how have you been able to make a graph out of your values for the last 9 years? What the hell's going on?
Because I've done the exercise many times over the years, just like it changes over the years. What's important to you, and in different life stages, like different things are important to you. So I've just tracked it, and I have a little table of what's happened. Beck says I have too much time on my hands.
Madhu said, how are you measuring this? So this is just Alan's ranked his values. So
The
for
tape
example, with a tape measure in January 2017, wealth was at the top of the list and health was number 2. In December 2017, wealth was number 1, health was number 4. And we're just looking at those 2 values. There's loads of other stuff going on around it, but Alan's just pulling out those 2 values to see how they changed over time and the impact that had on his life. And we're saying there's no right answer. It's not like where the value should be. It's just seeing and noticing the results.
I love what Stephanie said, and I'm kind of poking fun of you, but that's why I'm here. But then no, it's not why I'm here. The thing that strikes me from that is doing the work. Like, we don't have to make a graph of our values. We have to go to these lengths. Like, this is like Flash floor cleaner. Alan's done the hard work so that we don't have to, right? And I guess what I'm taking from this, when I look at this, and this picks up on what Naomi KP was saying about how it changes over time, because I used to think values were, this is what, like, as soon as I figured out what my values are, then I've done that piece of work and then I can move on with life. But of course, we have different life experiences, different things become important to us and less important over time, and so on. And sometimes, and I think this is the number one thing that's in my mind at the moment, is we lose sight of what's important when we get bogged down by the busyness of the day-to-day and all the challenges that we're facing. So one of the things that for me is so important about this course is it helps us all shine a torch on what's important for us, help us figure it out, help us what our starting point is, and help shine a torch on it whilst we make progress, right?
That's exactly it. Exactly it. So let's go on to how do you actually do this, because that's going to be like the main piece of homework from this week. Comes with a little warning. If you clearly work out your values, it might start to create friction with the people around you, because you go, I value this, and you change your behavior. And that starts to create friction. So you just like take it easy as you go through this. We'll work it out together. So Katie, homework alert.
Yay, I like homework. So we're going to explain to you how to do this values exercise, how to figure out what your values are.
So the plan, options for you. Option 1, the post-it note method, which is get a bunch of post-it notes, and on each post-it note, write one thing that's important to you. Stick it on the wall, and then you've got like a whole list of things that are important to you that you can move around and group into different things and help to come up with the list. Number 2, which is the way I normally end up doing it, is like the journaling method or the writing method. You just open a blank notebook, open a blank document on your computer and write, what is important to me? And then just start writing, like, it is important to me that I spend time with my family. My dogs are important to me. This is important to me.
And it's just
all of these
free
different things.
Flowing, just let it come. And then if you feel like you're drying up, just come back to the question, what's important to me? Or what isn't important to me? What do I want to avoid in my life? And that can help you to generate things that you want to move away from, to then frame it as the positive. So I don't want to have a big fat belly. You can change to, I want to be healthy and slim. So that's, one way of generating more ideas as to what you don't want in your life.
Which then can be framed positively. So the overall sort of process is step 1, you write out what's important to you. Then you sort of collect the key themes. So you've got like a list of key themes. You go, okay, the key themes are family, money, business, whatever it is the key themes are for you. And then narrow it down to like 5 or 8. Because if you have too many priorities, nothing is a priority. So we narrow it down, and then what we want to do is sort of rank them in order, and we'll explain why that's important in a bit. But you want to sort of put them in an order because the order matters to how you respond in different situations. The QR code there on the screen is for a little tool that helps you go, is it this or this? Or is it this or this? And then it kind of puts it all together and gives you a list. Or if you're doing it with Post-it notes, you can just hold each Post-it note and go, is it family or work first? Is it finances or cats first? Is it, I don't know, breakfast or health? It's a never-ending challenge in my life. And then you put it in order and you've got a simple list of, here's the things that are important to me. And that is going to be our compass, our guiding light through the course, because when you're deciding what to do next, how to do things, where to focus, you can use that to help you make those decisions.
Most people never take the time to do this and never figure out what's important to them. And we've talked about this, that you need to put the effort in. If you want to create a different life and create the life you actually want to live, it takes time and effort. So rather than watching that extra episode on Netflix, do this instead and see how much impact that can have on your life. Exactly.
And just to let you know, there is no right answer. Like, people are debating over which word is more important or what to do. Like, it is your version. There is no right answer. It is just the results that it brings.
People are asking for a link for instead of the QR code. We'll put it in the homework when we send it out.
We'll send it out tomorrow, or we'll put it in the chat in a second. I'm sure someone has got it. There you go. Hesina's amazing.
You're my favourite human in the world.
She just immediately put, the link is in the chat there. We'll put it in YouTube as well. So a couple of bits from me when you come to ranking values, because I redid mine yesterday in preparation for the course, and we did it with Katie. So I have a brand new list that I've worked on that are important to me now. A couple of things that helped us. You will come across false choices. So you go, what's most important, money or happiness? And that's a false choice because you can have both. So the way to do it is to think, it's not binary. I can have money and happiness. Those two things do work together, or finances, or whatever the words are. Maybe it is, what will I put first? So instead of thinking like, oh, it's either or, it's like, which one first? Like during the day, I could do both, but am I going to focus my first energy, my fresh energy on this first or that first? Do I choose to do my health first, or do I choose to do my finances first? And it's your best guess. It doesn't matter. We'll just come up with a list for you. And then we want to have a look at that as we go through the course and see, am I happy with this? Am I comfortable? Does it match me? And you might change it in a month when you go, I tested this.
This is not set in stone. This is your first best guess. Just don't overthink it. Just come up with doing that ranking, and then you can always change it. I give you permission to change anything at any point in your life.
Exactly. Abby on YouTube says how often we review these values. I do it once a year, but it's been a bit sporadic, because you can see on my graph earlier, it's a bit sporadic, but once a year I have a look at it. But every time I have a tough decision, I go back to it, because it is my compass about what I want to do in life. This is what I'm saying is actually critical to me. And that's what you need to say to yourself as well.
Guys, I need to ask you a question.
Do it.
Please do.
It's to do with, I think there's quite a few comments that have been throughout this evening as to how you can manage this process. What's your experience of going through this together as a couple? If you've got other people in the team that you need to be thinking about at home, how do you go about this? Because you've done this a few times over. What's your advice on that?
So I think Katie for years was reticent to do this with me and didn't want to do this stuff. I don't know if you didn't think it was valuable or just didn't enjoy it.
It's just a bit weird, isn't it? It doesn't fit in the standard what people do. It's not scientific. It's not something you get taught at school. I'm not going to get graded on this. you're weird, Alan. And slowly but surely, I've come over to realizing that working on yourself and your happiness in your life is a valuable use of time. So you may find a partner or have a partner that was like me, and I think Alan just went off and was obnoxiously happy, and then eventually I joined him.
And I think like I was curious, so I think I never wanted to force what I thought was important on Katie. I kept asking, what's important to you? Because I want to know, because I want to help you be happy. And like, I was always curious, I want to know about you. I want to know about you, and like trying to get Katie engaged. And you can work this out together, and it will actually help you to realize, like, if you can get your partner, your family, the people around you to do it with you, it'll actually help you to realize why sometimes you have friction and arguments, because what is important to you might not be important to your partner, and realizing that can save you a lot of pain over the years. Yeah, we had a mucho from the live crowd then.
The live Mexican
They're getting rowdy
audience.
in the back.
I know, I love it, mucho. Did that answer your question, Simon, or did we just avoid it?
No, I think you sort of semi-answered it, but I guess it depends, doesn't it? And the thing that jumped out for me was you do you, and let your partner notice the conversations that you're having, and share it. Because I think, and we've got some more thoughts later on as to how we do this as we leave the course, because this thing about exploring some of this stuff together is going to really help some folk.
And that's basically what we want to help you do, is explore it and do it with your partner, with the people around you. It's actually a really good exercise to do with your business partner, with your team, like to understand what they value and why they're doing what they're doing, and what you value and why you're doing what you're doing. So that's what we want to do. So that's your homework. Katie has a poll to ask, which method are you going to use? Can you see the presumptive close? If you've done a business sales course, there is a presumptive close here. Are you going to do the post-it note method, or are you going to do the journaling method? The presumption is you are going to do it. So please vote in the poll right now, or if you're YouTube, put it in the chat. Tell us which. David Robinson says both methods.
Overachiever.
So does Aidy.
Yes,
so does
David.
Arena. They're all over this. I love it.
Someone said, can you do this for home and for work separately? I would say yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Any of this stuff that we're teaching you, if you want to apply it just to a specific area of your life, like at work, with your team, like, please use these skills and tools that we're teaching you in any area of your life.
Yeah, if you work with a bunch of people, it's actually a fun exercise to do together. You could do it on your own. Some of you are like, I never get my partner to do this, but like you could at least like tell them what you're doing and have a chat about it. Yeah, it's key is to do it. Oh, Claire wrote she's going to do it in OneNote. I just got so excited. It's my tool of choice.
I'm going to end the pool. We've had about 2/3 journaling, 1/3 post-it notes.
Excellent. Perfect.
So I love it. Let's do it.
Yeah. Ayana says, I'm trying post-its because I've never done it before. Claire Young says a bit of both. Love it. Right. So let's move on to the next section, Simon, which is current reality, because time is flying.
Time is flying. We've been chatting away, haven't we?
Because the current reality is basically the idea is we're going to have a look at your life as it is now, so that we work out what's currently working and what's not currently working, and then we can do something about it. That's the plan. Because we need to know where you're starting from to create the map for where you're going.
For those of you that came to Rebel Finance School, that's why we always start with, like, how much money do you have? Or
what's
not
your
have,
net worth?
What's your net worth, or how much debt do you have? Because it's not until you know where you're starting from that you can take the appropriate steps to get to where you want to go.
So that's what we're going to do, is have a look at that. And the key thing here is it's evaluation first, creation second. So first off, we want to look at exactly what's going on in your life, because we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
There's things you're already doing incredibly well. A lot of you said that you love your family and you've got a really close relationship with your kids. Some of you said you really love your job, your work, your career. We want to amplify and accelerate those things and keep the things that are going well and adjust the things that aren't going as well.
So it does not matter where you are starting now. We are all starting from different starting points. We just need to identify where we're starting from and then start making progress from there.
Comparison is bad and unuseful, and it's caused me a lot of pain in my life, because I would always look at other people and be like, what's going on with them? Am I the best? I want to be the best. I got to compare all these other people. And it worked quite well for a while, because I thought I was doing well. I was good at school. I was good at music. I was good at sport. And I was like, yes, comparing works because I'm really good. Then I met Alan, and for a while comparing still worked, because I thought, yeah, I'm better than him. Things are going well. And then he started being successful.
True.
And he's doing really well on his podcast. He's getting recognition. He was winning speaking competitions. His business was taking off. And I was like, hang on a minute.
So annoying.
Hang on a minute. I'm not doing so well compared to this bloke anymore. And like, this bloke is my husband, the one, like, we're meant to be creating this life together. And I'm comparing myself to him. And it causes so much pain. So you have to cut that stuff out and you have to run your own race. Because if you're always looking over your shoulder, you're going to run into a wall. You need to be running your own race and just thinking what you're doing. And actually, the direction of travel is more important than where you're starting right now. If you're out of shape, you haven't exercised in years, but you start moving towards making the right choices and things to move in that direction, that is what's important, versus someone that might be in reasonable shape, but they've starting to decline and eating all those burgers and like not going to the gym as much. Actually, you're in a much better position if you're the one that's on the upwards trend. So the direction is important, not where you are right now.
Exactly. And Robin said, compare to your past self. 1% better every day is my aim. And I love that. And that's running your own race. You compare to yourself and go, can I get a little bit better? But to do that, we need to know where we are now, which you had a Google analogy for this, Simon.
Well, I tried to get somewhere last week and I forgot to tell Google where I was. So it couldn't calculate the route for me. Do you know what I mean? So if you don't know where you are, then you can't figure out what the path is to get there. And I think what I love about what you've just said is that it's one of the biggest barriers that prevents people from taking the action that's in their heart, because they're comparing themselves to someone else and saying, well, what's the point anyway? Because somebody else is already better than this. Someone else has already done this, haven't they? I'll never be as good as them. You know, and I think the analogy that I use for this is, I don't know if you know how many business schools do you reckon there are in the world? There's like 18,000 business schools across the planet.
I was going to say 12.
What, 12 business schools or 12,000? And there's more than 12, Katie. Yeah, like 18,000 business schools, plus you add the business consultants, business advisors, business coaches, business trainers, business training courses. Everyone and their cat are trying to teach business. Like, if we'd have compared ourselves to those, we would never have started the Rebel School. So I think, like, my message here is you do you. And that's it. Alan, you do you.
I will do me. So we're going to start with where you are now. And Katie, I, and Simon have created a tool, obviously in Excel, because you know how much we love graphs, to help you think about where your life is right now. So there's a QR code on the screen, or Katie has put a link in the YouTube and in the Zoom as well. And it's a simple thing that says, mark yourself out of 10 in these following areas of life. Where are you now? And one of them's health. So you might go, okay, how am I doing in health? And maybe at that point you have a little... Neft has started to draw it on his own piece of paper. Top marks for Neft in the live audience. But you might actually look down and go, how am I doing with health? Can I see my legs, or is there something covering it up? Do I have energy in the morning? Do I feel good? How's my mental health? That's all part of health. And you might go, okay, family, like how am I doing in my relationships and different bits? And Katie's designed it so that spreadsheet, if you put the numbers in there, it will auto fill out a chart for you. And it puts like a wheel, and you will be able to see like which areas of your life you think are going well and which areas of your life aren't going well. And yeah, I love what Katie has created, and Simon gave us the first version of this. It's incredible what they've pulled together.
Simon said, I have a spreadsheet for you. And I was like, Simon, really? I loved it.
It has been known, but just keep that between you and me.
Yeah.
And the bit here is, if you imagine this wheel rolling, like it's not going to roll very well if one of the sides of the graph is really low. So if you had health at a 1, but everything else was doing at a pretty 8, like you would be limping along in a mess. And the idea is to have a more rounded view of what's doing in your life. And the idea is to help us see where we are. That's the whole purpose. Emma Stewart says so much spreadsheet love in the chat. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Yeah, some people are struggling to open it. We will send a link to it tomorrow. We will make sure it's there. Or all of the resources for the course are going to be on one page on the website, which is alandonegan.com/extra resources. So that should get you to most things. The idea here is to create a little bit of space and time to reflect and think about your life. Because if you're doing it very well in one area, we should acknowledge that. And if you're not doing well in another area, we should acknowledge that and do something about it. So that's the exercise. That's what we are going to do. Simon, the whole plus and minus thing, this current reality exercise that we're going to get into, can you explain us what plus and minus means and what the purpose of this whole thing is?
Yeah, I think there is a tendency sometimes to go straight to all of the problems. And, for me, what the plus and minus does is it helps you have a more of a balanced view of what's actually going on. Because even some of the most negative people that I've met over the years, or the people that are in the biggest pickle, if you ask them the right question, they can think of some good stuff. And I think for me, this is a balance. It's not necessarily just about zooming in on the problems and fixing them. It's also about looking at some of the opportunities, some of the things that are already going quite well. So you can have a nice balanced sort of 360 view. This is all about capturing the headlines of what's actually going on for you right now. What are the positive things? What are the opportunities? What are the things that are kind of pulling for you? Like when you think of a life that you're starting to sort of figure out what you want to create next year and beyond, what are the things that you can build on? And equally, and that's what some of the things about the Wheel of Life will do as well, is it identifies the problems, the things that are going to prevent you from getting to the place that you want to get to. So it's all about having a kind of balanced view, really.
And this is exactly the Katie exercise Katie and I did in August. We found ourselves not living the life we wanted to live. We had a bit of pain, we had awkwardness, and this is us doing the exercise on Post-it notes. We got Post-it notes out and we put what's working well in our life, what's not working well in our life. And it was working well, Rebel Finance School, the cool people we're working on. What's not working well? Health, my health was suffering. And we went through all these things. Couple of pieces. If you are doing this with people, or even actually on your own, it is very important to have no judgment. It's just accepting what is. My health wasn't perfect. I just have to, no judgment, accept that. Then and only then I can do something about it. There's also got to be no blame, because you can't go, this area of my life is bad. It's your fault. That is not going to help you make progress. It's just, it is a fact. This isn't working. Derek noted it said on the list, Katie is Polish. Katie, I love pierogi, says Anita. Yes, Katie got her Polish passport, which is a big plus because she can go to Europe for as long as she wants now without me. And then it is accepting the way things are, because you have to just accept it to then be able to make change. And I think that's a really key bit to doing this exercise. So just to show you like where we're going with this, the full process, what we're going to do is, number one, have a look at the current reality. Where are you now in life?
So this is the process over like the 5 weeks, isn't it? This is like to put into context to understand we're actually building to something here. This is not just random bits and bobs. We're building to something and going to show you how we're going to build to it.
And after we've done the current reality, we'll have a look at the top insights. And I'm going to explain how to do this in a second, but it's like, okay, what's working well, what's not working so well, and like the top insights that you get out of doing this exercise. When we did it, Katie and I had insights that like Alan's health is not good. We need to work on our confidence. And the final one was we weren't having very much fun at that point. Those were the insights that we could then turn into a question and work on. So next week, we're going to look at turning the insights into a question. So you can actually answer, how do you make progress on it? Then we are going to come up with lots of ideas how to do it. We're going to show you all sorts of stuff about creativity. We're then going to choose what actions to work on, decide on it, and then start to put some actions into process and make movement towards the life we actually want. That's the plan.
I'm conscious of time. I know some of you might need to head off because we did say 90 minutes.
It's now been 92.
It's been 92 minutes. This call is being recorded. If you need to jet off, you just catch up on YouTube. We'll send the link out, and it's on the same link that you're currently watching on for YouTube. But we've got a little bit more to deliver, so please tune back in if you do need to head off.
Yes. Also, you're welcome to stay with us for the last few minutes.
Please do stay if you can.
Yeah.
Equally, I just wanted to give people an out, like I like to think it was clear that they're welcome to stay, but thank you for making that clear.
That's okay. Right. So you have 3 options of how to do this exercise. Number 1 is the Wheel of Life spreadsheet that Katie sent to you. You can fill that out, and next to each line, there is a box for you to write what's working and what's not working in your world at the moment. So option 1 is you can do it with that.
Then at the top, you'll see that there's the overall areas of life. And then if you keep scrolling down, you can drill down into different areas. So there's one there on health, one there on work, and 2 others that I can't think of off the top of my head, but you can drill down into the different areas.
Exactly. Option 2 is get the post-it notes out. This is my preferred version. I love this. Get the post-it notes out, put plus and minuses, and work through the different areas of life. Or option 3, you can do it in a OneNote, a journal, a document, and write what's working and what is not.
And one thing to do, like you might start to dry up and not have ideas of like, oh, I can't think, like, what do I need to put here? Think through like the different areas of life that we've had on that wheel of life. So you could ask yourself, oh, in the area of personal growth and development, what's working? What isn't working? What frustrates me in this area? What's going really excellently well in this area? And just go through each of the areas and like whatever
finances, what's working well? What's not working well?
Same for fun, adventure, and passion. Are you having any fun? Are you having too much fun? We don't have enough fun.
Yeah. Do you have any fun, Mike Valentine? No. He smiled. He smiled. He cracked. Career and business. That was my first ever LinkedIn photo. Slightly chubby, younger Alan.
But you're so cash, aren't you?
I'm so cash with my jacket over my shoulder. Like, yes, I'm business cash. My mum took the photo for my LinkedIn profile. But what's going well in your career or your business or spirituality or love and relationships, friends and family, health and wellness, or your environment, like where you live, what's going on in your world. That will give you ideas. One other piece that I think will really help is like an energy piece. So as you go through this week, think about the things you do, the meetings you go to, the people you talk to, what gives you energy and what takes away energy from you. That will inspire lots of ideas about what should go on the plus and minuses. Like a meeting with Simon or a breakfast with Simon lights my life up. I leave full of energy. Simon is a plus on my list.
You need to be specific, don't you? Because
you
can't just put meetings, because it's like try and be as specific as you can. What was it about that meeting? Was it the fact like you had the really nice breakfast, or Simon's eyes were sparkling? Like, what was it specifically about that encounter experience that gave you energy? And the more specific, the better, so that you can do more of it.
So this is kind of your homework for the week, is to go away and do this. And then the final piece after you've done that is to then think about, like, what's the top 3 insights from this? Simon, what does the word insight mean? It sounds a bit like corporate rubbish.
Well, it's the opposite of that, Alan. It's a sight from within. Like the whole point of this is that whilst you're doing the exercise, things are going to start popping up in your mind that you've never thought of before. And as you look down the list, you'll start to see what becomes most important to you. And it'll kind of, like, my experience of doing this is that the important stuff starts to bubble up, and like you'll start to see things and the areas of your life that you want to put more focus in. That's what I love about doing this stuff.
I love that.
And we encourage you to choose a plus, a minus, and a wild card. The wild card meaning can be from either side.
Because you don't just want to focus on the problems. There will be stuff in there that you go, okay, I get huge energy out of doing X. I need to do more of this in my life. And I think people forget, focusing on growing a positive is just as important as fixing something that isn't working quite well. And
we're going to be building on this. So we want you to come back with this next week so we can do the next stages and build through. So it's really important that you take the time to do this over the week.
And the last time Katie and I did this together, we looked at the list. We each picked our top 3 insights. And funny enough, they were all the same, which was very interesting. We actually had alignment on health, confidence, and more fun.
Has that ever happened before? Alignment between us?
It doesn't happen very often. Okay, so these are your 3 options of how to do it. You can do it in the Wheel of Life, the Post-it notes, or the whiteboard notebook type method. Which one are you going to choose? Please vote now or put it in the chat. Which one are you going to choose? Are you going to do it Wheel of Life, Post-it note, or whiteboard stroke notebook stroke on your computer on your own?
I really love it that people are consciously voting here as well, because and we will know, by the way, we'll check. We'll know who said what.
Darren said D, all of above. Are you just trying to win favor, Darren? Or we will check with you next time?
So most people are saying Wheel of Life, actually, interestingly. Most people on YouTube have said that. There's a couple of journaling in there. And a mixture. And then on Zoom, we had nearly 70% saying Wheel of Life. So that's the most popular.
Karen said she nearly bailed to watch I'm a Celebrity, but has stayed. And Tahseen has also said these courses are now a value because she values it more than I'm a Celebrity. I didn't even know we were competing with I'm a Celebrity at this current time slot. But I'm glad you stayed. Right.
Well, you probably shouldn't have pointed that out, because now people are going, I'm heading off.
Yeah, I'm off.
So a couple of bits to I love it.
There's a delay.
Tony's listening on YouTube over there, so there's a minute delay. So he laughs after we've said the joke, which makes me laugh every time. So a couple of things to do. There is a piece of accepting what is and changing what can be changed. Now, there's this expression of what is a gravity problem. We are not going to be able to change gravity. We have to accept gravity exists. So if you've got gravity as a minus on your list, we just have to accept that exists and focus on what we can change. And there's this thing called locus of control. It's a fancy way of saying what's in your control and what's out of your control. Now, within my circle of control is my own actions. The music I play through my headphones, my environment, my daily actions, my emotions, exercise, focus, my friends, distractions, time, my diet, what I eat. This is all inside my locus of control, what I can do something about. But outside that is the stuff that's outside of my control, like the sports results. Can't do anything about that. Can't do anything about politicians, have tried. Can't do anything about other people or the government or the media or where the market's going up and down. Or Katie, she is like way outside of my control zone.
I don't know how to feel about that. I suppose I should feel good that you're not trying to control me.
I just accept
but it's like
you.
You make me sound like a
force of nature,
a crazy force that's off doing weird stuff.
Can't control the weather, but I can move to a country with nicer weather. Can't control the street noise in Mexico, or the man who shouts aguacate as I'm filming a podcast, or the weirdo that comes in interrupting whilst I'm doing a podcast.
Man interrupting my podcasting. Is that
I was very angry when I was doing
exceptionally
it.
Detailed locus of control.
But I can't control that. So you have to focus on what you can control. Does this make sense? The plus and minus bit, like put it on there, but when we're choosing the insights, like we need to accept what we can't control and focus on changing what we can control. That's the key piece here.
Yeah, and I think I just noticed a couple of the comments, and one of them was Jeff about, when it, especially when you do the wheel of life and it kind of pops up and you go, yeah, but I can't do anything about that, can I? Even though I really want to, there might be that. I guess part of me is thinking, if you're sensing some resistance right now, remember this is only week 1. Like, we've got plenty of time. The purpose of doing this is just to identify it. We're going to come back and revisit the things that you really want to make progress on, and we're going to tackle them head on together. So whilst you might think, this is a struggle for me right now, you haven't figured it out yet. So those things that, as Alan says, are in your control, but might seem impossible, but are in your control, and they're important to you, we're coming for them.
Definitely. Bex wrote a lovely one saying you can't control gravity, but you can adjust your body position.
Posture.
So you may have seen me just sitting up straight. I was like, you're absolutely right.
I've got the prawn or
focus on that
body position often.
Okay. And emotions are going to come up within this. Like, we need to just accept it. Your emotions are actually a guide to what is going on. So if you feel excited, if you feel upset, if you feel angry, it is a guide to what is positive or negative, a plus or a minus in your world. So homework alerts. Oh, no, we got a warning first.
Different warning.
Different warning.
It's the same as the homework though, isn't it? I think we should possibly
have a different slide.
chosen a different picture.
Okay.
This is about other people's reactions and what might happen as you go out in your normal life. Simon,
other people's reactions.
Do you remember that guy in Birmingham who came in with a black eye the next day? But basically, what happened is we gave him a tool to manage the negative reactions of people around him. And we said to him, all you need to do is just imagine the person on your thumbnail and just kind of wiggle your thumb. Imagine that their face is on there. And when you hear their negative words in your head, I want you to change their voice so that they sound a bit like Bugs Bunny, because I'm trying to dial down the impact, because this guy was feeling really beaten down by the negativity in his life. And he came in the next day, he said, Simon, I've got a problem. I said, what is it? He said, well, she started on me last night. And when she started on me, I just went in her face and she punched me. Like, I don't think that would be a good strategy. And I had to say to him, that was supposed to be a secret. That was just for you. You're not supposed to share it with everybody else. And I remember coming back from a coaching program, from learning a bunch of stuff. And I counted 21 bits of negativity from people that were surrounding me. And it really took the wind out of my sails. So I think there's something here about just taking a deep breath. And I think, Alan, you got some advice as to how we can handle other people's reactions, haven't we?
Because when you go back out into the world, like, not everyone has been on the Zoom call, not everyone has been on the YouTube. If you can force them to watch this before talking to them, that would be excellent. If you can't, then just be careful. First principle is just be a shining beacon of possibility. When we first learned about financial independence and some of this stuff, we went into very preachy mode and went round the place going, you should do this, you should do that, you must do this.
It was beyond preachy. It was ram it down people's throats. It was intense. I was like, everyone must do this now.
So we turned everyone off, and then we realized we need to stop doing that and just be obnoxiously happy. And then people start going, why are you so happy? Tell me your secret. So when you go out there, just being positive and happy, and you don't need to share your goals and your ideas just yet, like develop them and work on them. The only caveat to this is if you have a partner, a family member, a friend, a business partner you want to do this with, co-create it with them and do the exercises with them. But if you're doing it on their own and they're not involved, just work on your own stuff to start with. We don't need to share it all yet. And you may get some negative reactions from the people around you. Like it might happen. They're going to go, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? It might cause challenges. So just go out there and expect the problems. And then if you don't get them, that's way better. So now coming back to the homework, here specifically is the homework. So we've laid it out all on one slide to make it really easy. So feel free to take a photo if this helps, or we'll send it in the emails tomorrow.
So the first one is to do that values exercise, coming up with a clear list of your 5 to 8 values that you've ranked in order.
Second is the current reality. So where are you now in each of the life areas? What's working? What isn't working? What frustrates you? And then to pick your top 3 insights.
And then finally, the energy meter. So what lifts you up? What gives you energy? And what or who takes energy away from you? And just be as specific as you can. Jot that down throughout the week. Maybe have one side that lights you up and one side that lights you down, darkens you down. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean. Hopefully everyone else does as well. They're all smiling. So what's happening next? You will get an email tomorrow with the course notes. If you have not signed up to the course, please do, because you won't get the email if you haven't signed up. So just go to the Extraordinary page on the website and sign up to that. We also have the Facebook group. So if you have questions that come up, post them in there. We'll be looking in there over the week. So if you don't know what's happening, like we have a group of incredible people that want to support you creating the life you want to live. So ask them for help and questions.
And then coming up next week, week 2, is all about deciding what it is that you want your life to be like, choosing your version of extraordinary. Exactly. And Henry's put the link to sign up to the course in the chat. So if you want to sign up there, thank you, Henry. Love you, Henry. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit subscribe if this is the sort of thing that you're enjoying, because it will help us to reach more people, the more people that subscribe to the channel. So please hit like and subscribe. It really does help us to reach more people. And I've put the link to the YouTube in the Zoom. Perfect. And there's a QR code on the screen, or we'll send you a link later to it. If you get stuck during the week, because that's bound to happen, because you're doing something different and you're going to have questions and you're going to be like, what's going on? The Facebook group is a great place to start, because we're all trying to do the same thing together, and you can be like, oh, like, what was it they said about the values? And like, we're going to send you this, and I've had this problem. Yeah, we're going to send you notes, but there's bound to be questions that come up and confusions and all that sort of stuff. Do not let that be a barrier to progressing. Please come and ask for help in the Facebook group, and the QR code's there, and I've just put the link in the Zoom too, and I'll also put it in YouTube. Awesome. There's also a resources page on the website, on my website, which we're going to put all the notes on. We're filling it out. So thank you to the team of helpers. You're amazing for helping me create the notes for this stuff. You'll find all the YouTube links and the Zoom links on there. Yeah, there's the link to sign up to the course if you haven't, so you can scan that. And then I have a wrap-up closing message before we open it up to questions. And the wrap-up closing message is, you can have anything you want in life if you pay the price upfront and in full. And the price is rarely money. The price is quite often time, energy, doing the exercises, doing the thinking, doing the work, making it happen. But if you don't pay the price, you can't have the thing. And I'm an absolute believer that you really can create the life you want if you're willing to put in the work to get there. You can have anything in life you want if you pay the price up front and in full. And different things have different prices. So the price this week is the exercises and the work to do it.
Thank you so much for hanging out with Katie and Simon and I. You are incredible for having come on the course and stuck with us all the way through this. You are awesome. If you've got questions, hang out with us. We'll answer questions for a little bit before we finish. If you want to go to bed, like someone said in the thing, now is the time to fall asleep. I think Anita is actually in bed. So she could just like roll over and fall asleep next to Dan, which I do love.
We're going to just do the questions in the Zoom. So if you're on YouTube and you want to come over to the Zoom, please do so. And
there is space in the Zoom now because some people have gone off to sleep. So that's it. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. You are awesome. We are now open for questions. If you've got a question, use the hands up feature.
Close the YouTube. Goodbye, YouTube.
Goodbye,
we
YouTubers.
We have loved having you. So the way that we'll do the asking the questions, you'll see with reactions you can raise your hand and we'll just keep the questions in turn. I think to start with, if you have questions about what we talked about today, we'll start with those questions and then we can move on to more general questions after that.
Exactly.
Sound good? Goodbye, YouTube. So who have we got?
Okay, the YouTube live has